Okay, Samula. Okay. Really welcome everyone to come in here. Tonight we're in a class about releasing emotions with essential oils. Interestingly enough, when I was asked to run this class, I keep thinking that I've taught this many, many times. And then I was looking for my presentation, which I have a lot, and I realized I can't seem to find what I wanted. So tonight's class is literally built from scratch, from a lot of different information that over the last 19 years that I've been using Young Living, which also includes many of my other journey that I will speak about in a short while, to help you understand why it is so important to understand how emotions are trapped in our body, what happens when emotions are trapped, and why on earth would we think that essential oils can do this thing called releasing emotions? Okay, so I'm going to get started by sharing my slides straight away. Okay, let's. So if you can, ooh, I'm hearing some echo. Okay. Everyone can see, yeah? I may not be able to see people putting up their hands, etc. So if any point in time, for example, if you suddenly lose me and I'm not online talking to you anymore, please unmute and speak. I'm currently in India, so I am 2 hours and 30 minutes behind the ones in Singapore and Malaysia. I'm in a different part of the world, internet not always the most stable, so bear with me. Okay, let's get started. Some of you may not be fully familiar with me because you might have been invited into this class by your friends, and this is not a class only for people who are already using essential oils. If you are completely new, you are safe here because there will be a small section that I will discuss what is essential oil, why essential oil, and how does it work. So my name is Kai Xian. Some people call me Kai. I've been managing this international business of wellness, particularly with essential oils for the last 19 years. And along my journey, I realized that one of the things I wanted to be able to do, other than to tell people about essential oils, is to really support them to explore their own health. And therefore, I went on to get a certification with an institution of integrative nutrition that's based in New York. So I took a 1 year class to get this all set up so that I can coach people. Now, what you see as the next line is always an interesting thing that I put in my bio. Some people question how is that supposed to be supportive of my qualifications? In fact, I think this perfectly qualifies me to talk about what we're talking today. So in 2018, I was medically diagnosed with depression and anxiety. No one on this entire planet would ever volunteer to go through an experience like this. So when life fell apart during that period of time, it was a good 2.5 years to 3 years where I was completely unable to work. So I truly understood what can happen when we get stuck, when we get immobilized and we cannot function because something else is going on inside our body. We lose control. We think that everything is very smart. Oh, someone's okay. We typically think that we are very smart beings. Our brains keep us very active. We know what's going on. But here's the thing. The function of the brain really is just 20% of what's going on in our entire body. 80% of the power is in the body itself. And that's something I learned along the way, especially during those times of depression, anxiety, to realize that I cannot. It is not a matter of positive thinking, to think my way out of depression and anxiety. Like I needed to work with my body to actually help myself. So that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, I started on a journey, and like I said, um, 2.5 years to about 3 years, it was complete no work. I could not work at all. And then thereafter, I still had to handle the years after that, where I can get triggered quite fast. So what I thought was I've recovered became a journey where I needed to understand and watch myself and be fully aware when the slightest trigger has occurred so that I can manage myself better. Um, that has, like I said, led me on a journey to learn a lot of different modalities, learn about nervous system. And one of the things that many of you do know that I have been doing a lot more nowadays is a system called Body Talk. Um, I do want to talk a little bit about it because Body Talk, practicing Body Talk, has allowed me to see how amazing memories, stuck emotions, get lodged in the body. And when we don't process it, very often myself or my clients end up coming to see me because of a superficial symptom. When I see clients, they typically come and they can tell me all sorts of different outward symptoms. It doesn't have to be depression, anxiety. Somebody could come in with knee joints, very painful. Don't know why. Just suddenly an onset of very painful joints. Someone could come in and said that they've started having gastric issues, stomach issues. They no longer can tolerate certain food. They're getting gassy. Some people started noticing that they're getting infection very frequently, and they think it's just virus. But behind all that, usually when I start working with clients, we start discovering through the body that there's so much that's buried underneath. And once these things are worked through, either through body talks, and very often during my sessions, essential oils come up as support systems. When we become aware how to use these things better, I can have clients within 1 week, 2 weeks come back to me and say, the pain disappeared. It's that amazing when we know how to actually dislodge what's already in the body. Okay. So let's start with a little bit of background knowledge, because I'm sure in our group right now, sitting inside this Zoom room, there are people who absolutely understand how our body seems to hold on to emotions, to memories. And then there are people who go, what does that mean? You know, what a strange concept. So I want to put us on the same platform by answering this. Let's get on the same page to know that the body remembers. The body remembers. Your body is like a living archive. Every emotion you didn't have the safety to process didn't disappear. It found a place to stay, exactly inside the body. What does that mean? When something happens to us, emotions come up. It's not a bad thing, okay? We must remember that emotions are not bad. However, if we're in a place where we feel it is unsafe to feel our feelings, we don't allow ourselves to process it. So think of an example of putting a kettle of water boiling. If I close the cap very tight, especially if the water is boiling and there's energy, okay? If I don't allow an outlet, normally we have those whistling kettle. When there's an outlet and things are releasing, the boiling water is creating pressure and the pressure gets released. We understand that's a situation going on there and we can handle it. Now, if there was no outlet at all, what happens is that vessel could literally explode. if we didn't know what was going on, and the energy of the boiling water keeps circulating inside. So our body is exactly like this. When we don't know how to handle, so some people will shut down. They don't feel safe to cry. They don't feel safe to tell other people that they need help. When you shut down, the energy still circulates inside your body and it's going, oh, where do I go now? There is no outlet. She is not crying. She is not being angry. She is not talking about it at all. It doesn't just disappear. It will circulate inside your body and then it looks for a place to temporarily sit in there and make it a home. Let's look at a little bit of science and to understand what happens. How does our brain normally make memories? So number one, when a significant event happens, two parts of your brain starts to get into action. Why do I emphasize underlying significant? Because if it's not significant, we don't even remember, right? There are 1,000 things happening every day for us. We don't remember everything. It's a choice that we make consciously or subconsciously. Now, if it's important enough, two parts of our brain starts to work. The first one is called the amygdala. You can call it Miss Amy for short. That's the way I like to remember it, Miss Amy. Miss Amy is the one that stores the emotion. Wow, that thing happened. I feel so proud. I feel so excited. I feel so sad. I feel so ashamed. Okay? It stores emotion. Then, on the other hand, the hippocampus is the other part of the brain that files. It's like the librarian. It remembers what happened and it takes the details and it files it inside your brain so that logically you remember something and you remember how it feels like. And if it was actually captured properly, which we all know we have lots of memories, okay? Memories are not bad. Whether they are sad, whether they're happy, they're not bad. If you have processed it, if you felt safe to feel whatever you feel, it gets filed properly by your system. But what happens is when a traumatic event happens. What do we mean by traumatic? Okay, again, there's an underline because a lot of people, when I give talks and I talk about trauma, it can feel very strange to a lot of people because they said, I have no trauma. Trauma happens when there is war, when I had a major car accident. Trauma maybe happens when I have a very serious illness that took place. Those are big, big things. Then those are called trauma. So that's the concept most people have. But here's what I want you to understand, that the scientists, the researchers, the psychologists, and the people who are studying all this have now come up to speak a lot about this. Trauma can be a very, very small event, but that event left you feeling helpless. So I'm going to give a simple example. A child watched her parents fight. It's not an accident. She didn't get hurt during that fight. Perhaps during the fight itself, she was hiding in the corner of the room. She watched what happened. She felt very sad. She came home from school. She had a lot of stress about certain things, and she couldn't handle the situation. She felt helpless. She didn't know who to talk to because both parents are, just throwing languages at each other. She's afraid of offending them. She's afraid other people will find out. She's afraid that she has schoolwork to handle and she doesn't know how to do it. All of a sudden, her world collapsed because she feels helpless. That is considered a traumatic event. In that traumatic event, what happens is, remember our Miss Amy and our hippocampus? These two slow down significantly, don't know how to work, don't know how to store the emotion properly, don't know where to file this memory. Literally like skipping step, what happens is these emotions and these memory gets stored in the nervous system and in the body instead. Okay. So how does the emotion choose where to hide? If it's hiding in my body, where does it go? Where does it know where to go? Okay, how does it choose all this pathway? So again, a little bit of science to establish and help you understand that this is not just hocus pocus. This is all researched before, and people are beginning to understand more and more clearly why our body stores so much. So there are three ways the emotions develop a way to hide. Physiology, neural pathway, lived experience. Let's take a look at these. What is physiology? So if you think about you getting angry, okay, what happens? You feel a lot of heat, right? It's like angry, then your fists are tightening. There's an increased blood circulation and flow inside your body. When you're angry and you clench your fists like this, your muscle tightens, your shoulder tightens, and then you're holding on to maybe your even your muscles and stomach tightens. Your jaw tightens because you want to speak, but you don't want to speak, or you start yelling at a person. All this is called physiology. Something happens in emotion, and then the parts of the body starts to function in a certain way, and therefore creates a certain pattern. For example, another example other than anger is fear. So think about when you feel frightened, okay? Maybe some of you are super brave about everything, but imagine right now I invite you onto stage to talk to 100 people. Notice immediately how you clench, where you feel tightness. Your heart rate also increase. Your breathing feels very shallow or heavy for different people. Chest tightens. Again, the body parts are responding to an emotion. Neural pathway. It's like imagine you walking into a forest. Imagine the forest was never entered before. If you keep walking out a certain path, eventually you'll notice that the grass also die, right? When you're walking that path and you keep repeating it, that's a pathway that you're creating inside your system. We are creating pathways called neural pathways in our brain and our body through the experiences that we have. So, for example, criticism, the first time you hear it, okay, then you hear somebody telling you, wow, you're really quite stupid. Huh? You feel hurt, the emotion. Your body tightens. This becomes a pathway. Criticism leads to the feeling of hurt, leads to the body tightening up. When the person is not aware, there's a pathway that keeps happening. This pathway becomes more and more automatic. When no one is aware, nothing is being done to break this pattern. It becomes so ingrained in you, it happens in seconds. It no longer needs time to slowly find its way. It's a clear pathway. Habitually, you will always react this way. This means that you have created a life pattern, okay? And that pattern may not always be healthy. What is lived experience? Two people who experience the same situation can have very, very different response and experience. So imagine a child being scolded. The first child can feel very unsafe. And the conclusion and the learning is, I will, if I do something, I'll get scolded. I must suppress myself. I cannot talk. And therefore, the shutdown happens inside the throat. Okay. Child number two, on the other hand, could also be scolded, but instead feels angry, wants to fight back. And that tension gets stored in the liver or in the muscles. So again, this leads to a different way the body experiences how you deal with each emotion. And like I say, when these pathways are carved out and when things happen too fast, yet you don't have the time to pause, recognize what's happening, process what's happening, it's going to become a repeated pattern and it's going to get itself lodged inside your body. Unreleased emotions don't just live in your past. They shape your present and quietly script your future. A lot of people think that I can just ignore what happened and then try to forget about it. And I was telling you in my body talks practice, I have people who have so many years of grief that they didn't have a chance to cry about. And it just gets stored inside the body. And when they come and talk to me and process it through a body talk session, it could be the very first time there is permission for that emotion to come up. I had worked with someone who was sexually abused. She could literally tell me without flinching. In fact, she can describe the whole incident to me like she's telling a story. And when I was first watching her, it was like, oh, how fascinating. She talks about it like she's the third party. Okay. No emotions, no nothing. And you would think that she seemed to have processed it. But what happened is she's packed it up, didn't want to touch the rawness of it, moved on in life. But what happened then is got married, had difficulty having sex, had difficulty having children, and the body started showing up a lot of symptoms, which was what brought her to me. And then in that one session, that the very first session she sat down with me, all that happened was we witnessed and allowed the body to deal with something that happened more than 20 years ago. And when the body processed it, everything starts to shift. Unreleased emotions become chronic stress patterns. So I'm going to pause for a minute and just allow you to take all the information in. Because like I mentioned earlier, for some people, this is very brand new topic. You might not be familiar and a lot of thoughts could be coming up for you. For some people, this may even trigger you to feel something that you have long abandoned. Now, if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, you're fidgeting around, you notice tightness in your chest, etc., I'm going to invite you to actually just pick up an oil, especially if you're an oiler. So I have 3 oils with me here. Pick up an oil and just let's take a couple of breaths, just so that you calm yourself down, okay? And then, of course, after this, I am going to bring you into the topic of essential oils. Let's take a look. If you are very brand new to essential oils, these first few slides are very important to help you understand because the essential oils that you might be using in the market may not be something that is worth continuing using. So there are 3 ways to use a quality, unadulterated essential oil. The first one, like how I would use it, inhaling, or if you have a diffuser, diffuse an oil inside your room. You can use it with some base oil for massage to apply. Only with quality essential oils can you do the very last method. You can add it to food or drinks so that you actually put it inside your body. I want you to keep that in mind because there are very, very few brands out there that is distilled, grown, okay? All the methods, all the steps in order to produce essential oils have been done professionally and with integrity to bring you nothing but essential oil that's purely from plants. Oh, sorry, jumped a little bit. So how fast does essential oil work? This again is a very interesting, powerful fact. One drop of essential oil is a very, very small drop, has approximately 40 million trillion molecules. That's a lot of zeros behind, okay? Because the molecules are so, so tiny. It takes 22 seconds for that molecule to go right through to your brain, 2 minutes into your bloodstream, and 20 minutes to every cell in your body. Okay. Smell is the only sense directly wired to emotional memory center. It bypasses logical brain filtering and goes straight to your amygdala. Remember our Miss Amy? And to the hippocampus. Why is this important to know? So we have 5 senses, okay, including your eyes, your touch, your taste, your smell, etc. But smell is the only one that doesn't goes through your logical brain to understand what's going on. It goes boom, straight into your emotional brain center, and you will feel whatever you feel because of how it relates to your memories, to your emotions, etc. It is super fast. But smell, because it goes so fast, also has the ability to calm your nervous system, creating safety for the body to release. Why are we looking at all these facts? This is the part where we're going into learning how does an essential oil work on stuck emotion. So in the earlier slide, we said this. There is a power about smell molecules that we cannot deny. Science have looked at it, spirituality have looked at it. There's so much data about it. It is the only sense that goes bypass the logical brain, assess the emotional brain. What does that mean? It means when it goes straight into your memory and your emotional storage system, it brings out a pattern that has been buried and forgotten and surface it, allowing the activation of that memory to be processed. At the same time, that essential oil also calms your nervous system. So making a memory come alive again, it's not a bad thing. A lot of people think that I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that because it's going to make me feel bad. But when you're in a safe environment and when you can use smell to calm your nervous system and slowly allow these emotions to slowly trickle out, it's important. I'm going to say this. It doesn't just dissipate, huh? Okay? There's no such thing, just dissipate. Sometimes you might feel sad, you might feel angry, but there's a healthy way that our body is created to process all of this. We are not meant to bypass things. But a lot of us have been brought up in cultures where told you cannot feel angry, you cannot feel sad. We've shut down certain senses in us, and we think that if someone cries, there's weakness. No, that's your body. Very wise mechanism to process stress, to feel sadness, to allow grief to change from an energy into an outlet and then leave your body. So for those of you who might be asking, is there a way to deal with this without me feeling something? Unfortunately, it may not always happen. One line that I often use with my clients is the only way out is through. You go through the experience. You go through the feeling in order to become free again. Then, of course, the next question, actually, a lot of you have filled in your forms and said, what do I use for this? How do I use this, etc., etc. So we're going to give you the methods and then leave it in your hands how you could empower yourself to work with yourself. I've actually put down some information, but let's start with this. The body is an electrical responsive system. Plants carry complex biochemical and energetic signals that will interact and influence the body. If this sounds too complicated for you, let me try to simplify this. Your body is electrical, okay? Essential oils are electrical too, electrical and energetic in nature. When you put the body and the plants, the essential oils together, there is no way they do not interact. They will move and interact and create something. What's interesting is there is this other theory called the entrainment theory. Some of you who wear crystals might have heard of this before. Why do people look into the energies of crystals and then they like to wear these things on their body? So in nature, anything that is created with a calm energy, crystal stones, nature itself, when you walk through the forest, these energies are always very stable. While we are human beings and natural, the unfortunate thing is humans, because we have emotions, we are not stable. Our energy goes up and down, we get influenced. You don't notice a tree today getting suddenly very sad, right? And start to cry. I mean, it can get ill, but emotionally, that doesn't happen. So nature is a lot more stable. We're nature, but we are erected. So when you put two energies like that together, things that are natural, the one with stability has the power to lead the one that is not stable. It is an established scientific fact. And the terminology of that is called entrainment. So the stable energy leads the unstable energy to calm it down. So that's literally how the essential oils are working on your body all the time. Why do you feel that when you are feeling stress and you inhale lavender for that matter? That lavender is calming your nervous system. Even though that bottle could be so tiny and you're such a big human being, it has just the tiny molecules, goes right inside and energetically starts taking charge and moving you towards a balanced state or homeostasis, as we would call it. Oh, my slides are jumping a lot today. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, with that, I want to quickly add in this slide and actually talk about the fact that you must be using a good quality essential oil. Because now that you've heard essential oils are so powerful, you might walk out into the into the shopping mall tomorrow and then see a push cart and say, hey, I just want to buy that oil because Kazia mentioned in her class, essential oils are powerful. The unfortunate thing is in the market, easily 90 to 95% of essential oils are not pure. So if we look at this chart, B, C, D are all not pure essential oils. These are essential oils that have been chemically changed, things have been added to it. Right at the bottom, where we're talking about pure synthetic oils, it's all created in the lab. Nothing plant in there. No trace of nature in there. And even when you look at the term organic, a lot of people nowadays think that, hey, organic is the gold standard. It is not true. If you really study the organic label, it does allow the use of chemical fertilizers to a certain degree on certain number of ingredients. And so even if there's some pure oils in there, what you're having is not something that's captured a full spectrum essential oil. Full spectrum essential oils have no traces of chemicals. The entire process includes finding the right seeds, growing and harvesting it right, distilling it at very, very specific temperatures and timings. And temperatures and timings has nothing to do with your soil. It is about knowing and understanding what is the condition to bring out all the necessary plant chemicals that's residing naturally in your oil. So why do I bring this out? Because only untempered full spectrum essential oils carry the original frequency of healing plants. If you went to the market right now and bought a grade D essential oil and do not understand how there's so much difference in how essential oils work, you're going to bring home something and all that you're inhaling and using is chemical. It has no impact on you. It has no energy influence on you. And you're going to come back and tell me because in your class was just bollocks. It was just, you're just talking nonsense. So please understand that if you are dealing with something so deep, you want to use good quality oils. Then, of course, the next question that a lot of people are trying to understand is, how do I choose what to use? So I specifically made these next few slides because I wanted you to walk away from this class feeling that you can either be empowered with method 1 or 2, or understand how, if you have the books that we're going to talk about, how do I use it? There are several ways to use the oils, and I don't want you to feel like if your way of using is slightly different from another person, therefore you're wrong or the other person is wrong. Essential oils are so versatile, and because they are so dynamic, it allows so many different pathways to reach you. So the first one, we're going to talk about fight, flight, freeze very quickly. What does that mean? So as human beings, when we get triggered, there are usually 3 broad categories of how we will respond. Okay, so fight back, argue with the person. Flight, run away, avoid. Freeze is I completely just get frozen. I don't respond. I have no reaction. I seem very cold, etc. So those are normal trigger reactions. Number 2 is learning to use your intuition and then using the oils with intention. Method 2 is really interesting, and I'm going to quickly just talk about it here because there are times I hear people say, oh, if you want to feel calm, you must use this oil. And then you really feel like using this other oil. But because someone tells you that, you start feeling you're wrong. And I want you to erase that from your mind right now because our body actually has wisdom. Sometimes you might pick up an oil, you have no clue why you picked it up. It is the best oil for you. Okay. And on top of that, remember how every bottle of essential oil, it is a living bottle of molecules that interacts with you, interacts with your thoughts. Your thoughts are energies as well. That bottle, that little bottle we have, is filled with energy. When energy interacts with energy, it always has an influencing factor. So even today, if you tell me, I have nothing but a bottle of lemon, use that bottle of lemon with intention and you can get well. So I don't want you feeling like you will end up using a wrong oil. Oils are not like medicine. Medicine, if you took the wrong thing, is going to be a little bit of a problem. Okay? Essential oils do not work the same way. They work with wisdom, with your intention. Okay? And number three is where we'll go and talk about two reference books. Some of you already have it. If you don't, you can easily find them on Amazon online. We get no commission on them, but they are books that any oilers who's interested in supporting themselves emotionally would always invest in. So the first part, fight, flight, freeze. Okay, go ahead and take picture because I know this is the part where everybody goes, what to use or what to use, even though I have told you, you don't have to worry. All oils are great, okay? Still, if you would like some guideline, here's a simple one that I teach. If you're feeling angry, okay, and really want to fight with someone, use any oil that helps to calm you down, or any oil from trees. So trees have trees, think about trees, or you look out of your house right now, there's a big tree standing out there. Trees are very still, right? They are very rooted, they're very still, and they're very stable. So these energies are carried into the essential oils that has been created. So if you see the very first row I have here, we have gentle baby, peace and calming, believe. These are all beautiful calming oils, lots of different ingredients in there, including trees that we've talked about. The bottom row are some tree oils that I personally love. Hinoki, if you've never heard of it, definitely try to grab hold of it. I can't remember whether we have it in Singapore. If not, it will have to be a US purchase. This is ancient Japanese wood that has been used even to build temples. It has such a grounding energy to it. So as you diffuse it in the house, as you apply it on yourself, it has that enormous settling effect for you. Okay. Then the second one is Idaho Grand Fir. That's another one which is found in your Believe blend. Love that. It's like I always think of it like a Christmassy feeling. It's like the fir trees. You have that lightness, but yet very, very stable energy. And then the last one we have here is frankincense. That's an oil that we all know is beautiful. It's very grounding. Use that if you're feeling like you're about to fight someone. Okay. The second part is when you feel like running away. So if you are in that space, the first row of oils that we're looking at, the ones that are blends, we have Valor, we have Grounding, and we have Sacred Mountain. These are blends that I generally like to use when somebody constantly feel like when they're triggered, they want to escape. They want to run somewhere else. It helps them stay, okay? The other way you can think about is find oils that are distilled from the roots of the plant. Vetiver and Angelica. If you've not heard of Angelica, again, this is one of my favorite oils, but it's from the US. It is actually what we know in Chinese as tang pui. Okay, it's distilled from the roots. And these, and in fact, Angelica, why I love it is because It also has an emotional energy of cleansing internal negativity. And there is a protocol that I teach. I get people to use Angelica to cleanse themselves, and then white light is also another blend that sometimes it's very difficult to get right now. So instead of white light, the other one that you can use is either evergreen essence, which is a lot of different trees, fir trees, or Gary's light. So these two I use. Once you clear your energy with Angelica, you use any of those to bring in light to yourself. And then after that, you use white Angelica, which is here. Okay, it's different from Angelica. White Angelica is a blend. Use that to seal your own energy so that you feel safer, having let go, filled up with light, and sealing it. Okay. Last one, freeze. What is freeze? Freeze is, some people, you might see people that go very bored up, like no expression. And you wonder, wow, they don't feel anything. Sometimes it's not that they don't care. Sometimes it's the fact that they shut down that route of allowing themselves to bother to feel anything. So when we freeze, it is also not a good thing for our system. So choose oils that are uplifting or oils that are from flowers or fruits. Flowers or fruit oils are usually lighter. When you smell them, there's this uplifting freshness, zest. It's representing life and energy. So pick oils that bring life back into a body that has become stuck. So blends, the first row, you're going to see white Angelica is one of my favorite. It has saved me when I literally cannot move. Okay. By the way, if you happen to be already in that state, usually it takes quite a bit of the oils to move you out of it. I like to encourage people to learn to observe themselves. So when they know that they are about to become like that, start using the oil. Don't wait until you are already dead. It's a lot more work to pull you out. Okay. So there's white Angelica, there's hope, there's the other oil, gratitude. And gratitude is amazing oil because once you bring in that energy of looking at things from the lens of I am so grateful that there is this versus I'm so upset that I don't have this. It shifts you so much. Okay. And that will unlock the body into a state of appreciation, lovingness, etc. If you're looking for singles, I cannot promote and discuss these two oils more. They are my favorite. Bergamot, diffuse, 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 put them in the room, put them everywhere in your house. They have such amazing power to uplift. Neroli is a lot more expensive, but I have seen, I used to have one particular member every month without fail. That's the one oil that he will order. And back then, Singapore doesn't even have neroli. So he will always place an order of neroli with me so that I bring it in from the States. And it's because he's seen how it takes him out of a place of stuckness. And he was a HOD, okay? So working in a school, when you're in that space of needing to function, you cannot freeze. So he's constantly using the neroli every single day. So this is a slide. If you understand what your usual reaction is like, then look at the series of oils and make sure you have at least one blend and one single and keep them with you frequently. My rule of thumb, don't wait until something happens to you, then use the oils. Use them every single day to retrain your body, to change how your body is wired up so that a new pathway starts to open up for you. Okay, this is the interesting part, which at some point I am going to ask Xiaohui and Zijin to help me because we are going to help you take a look at some of your stuck emotions if you would like. So there are two books that I highly, highly recommend. If you are curious about what gets stuck in your body, you want to empower yourself to have information. By the way, it's not a must-have. Remember, we have method 1, method 2. You can choose from broad categories: fight, flight, freeze. You can also listen and tune in to your intuition. That's very important. So these books, they are good to have, but they are not a must-have. If you're a very, very structured person and you need step by step, these are great for you. But if you're someone a lot more connected to your intuition, trust yourself. Okay? So typically, when I work with someone, I ask them, are they having sudden or chronic pain? Sudden, out of nowhere, your knees are giving way. You did play an aggressive sport, but pain set in. Don't know why. Chronic pain, it's been going on for a long, long time. You have tried treatments, you have done a million different things. It doesn't go away. Both situations very often give rise to that question if there is something deeper than your physical problem. So these books help you to look into the buried patterns, thoughts, and emotions. And I'm going to help you walk through some examples first. Okay. So let's just say you are aware of a body part. There are many, many ways to enter this conversation. So the first way is, something physical. I can feel that body part is painful, okay? Or is aching, or is breaking down. So I'm going to use the body part of thyroid as a reference. If you go into this book, Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oil, specifically, there are a few reference sections. This is the body, because we're looking at body part, right? This is the body reference section, page 96. If you look at this, it goes in. There are a few lines about thyroid. Why? Because there could be different types of emotions that has triggered a thyroid issue. And we can see thyroid can relate to emotions of berated. That means somebody keeps scolding you and then you feel very, well, Chinese called big chick, right? The feeling of wanting to get even, argumentative, or injustice. You may not feel awful. Once you have found the page, once you've identified these are the options, ask yourself, which is the emotion that most relate to you? Now, if you choose injustice, for example, what is injustice? It's not fair. How come this person got the promotion? How come my mother is nicer to my older sister? How come that guy likes this person better than liking me? Not fair. Okay? Maybe easier to understand these examples. When we have that, if we don't process the emotions, well, we don't allow ourselves to process this, it can affect our thyroid function. So let's say it was injustice. It was this feeling of unfair. I go to the emotional reference section in this same book. Over here, page 47, not fair, injustice, okay? I look at a couple of things. One, what's the oil to use? Under the essential oil, Sacred Mountain. Where do you apply? Okay. Oh, sorry, there should be an application area. Thyroid. Okay, it literally says thyroid again. But it's important that you look up the actual chart. So you will see the chart column, the last column. It says chart ACGH. There are a few different charts that all shows where the thyroid point is. And there's also the possibility for you to use the affirmation, which is, I accept the truth. Okay, words are energy as well. They're very powerful when we allow ourselves to actually embrace certain statements and allow the energy of that statement to work through us. We are more receptive to letting go of that feeling of not fair and take on and move into a different state. Okay, so let's look at where thyroid is. So sacral mountain, which I have over here. This is the actual, I use one of the charts. Remember, there are many charts. So I found chart A, which is on page 108. And then you look through, right at the bottom here, it says thyroid. These 2 points here, literally where your thyroid is sitting. Sometimes the points can be off where the physical organ is. So you come to this, and then what you literally can do is you take your sacred mountain. Some people generalize and just apply to the whole area, and it's simply whole, okay? And every time you use it, you simply just repeat, I accept the truth. If you don't want to use the affirmation, it is not wrong. You can simply apply it here and intend that this oil is using and working itself through your body and removing the emotion of injustice. I'm going to go into another example. Earlier on, you notice a body part is not working, okay? It could be possible that instead of a body part, you become aware that I'm constantly feeling unappreciated. Your trigger point is always, people don't appreciate me. I did this. People didn't see me. Okay. Now, if you are coming in through that emotional doorway, there is another section in this book, which is the emotional reference section. So over here, under page 57, I can see unappreciated. Unappreciated. The oil to use is Juva Flex. The application area is the lungs. And then you can look up the relevant chart with the affirmation, I am on purpose. So over here, this is the chart. And lungs. So you might think your lung is way down. Actually, it's for the lung point, the alarm point that in this book is specifically using, is almost just right down your clavicle area, these 2 points. Sometimes when you actually massage this area, you can feel it's quite sore. You have a lot of tension and a lot of emotions here. Okay, so you can take Juva cleanse. Interesting, a lot of people think Juva, any Juva oil, Juva cleanse. Oh, sorry, this is Juva Flex. A lot of people think that the Juva oils are just for liver. You'll be surprised, okay, what these blends can do. So take the Juva Flex and then apply to these lower 2 points, just, your clavicle bone. Yeah, it's just slightly below here. These 2 tender spots. If you press it and it's feeling sore, you're probably sitting with some emotions stuck in there. Okay. The third way that can happen, remember the first is body part. The second one is I know the emotion. The third part is a symptom, like an illness, or I keep feeling nausea. Or you could, when I say symptom, it could be cancer. It could be a virus. It's not a body part, it's an illness or it's a condition that you're having. Now, then this blue book itself sometimes may not have the information that you need. So you need to do an additional step. So this is where the second book comes in very useful. In the Louise Hay book, You Can Heal Your Life, there is an entire section at the back where it will tell you what is the emotion behind that symptom. So when we looked, nausea suggests that hidden behind there is a feeling of fear, rejecting an idea, or experience. So then now you know, there's one option I'm feeling fearful. Two, I'm rejecting. I'm just in this whole emotion of rejecting other things. Then I'm going to look inside the blue book again. And these are the two emotions, rejection or fear. And I'm going to ask myself, which one is more relevant to me? No two persons are the same. If, for example, is you feeling more of rejection, it's purification, the application is on the lung, the affirmation is I accept all that I am. But if you're feeling more fearful, the oil to use is Hawaiian sandalwood. The application area is a third eye, and the affirmation is I face the unknown. Slightly different. So this is me going into the rejection. And again, when we find the chart, you're going to see it's the same point that we looked at just now, but right now you're using a very different oil. Earlier on, it was jewel flex. Right now is purification. And the statement to use is I accept all that I am. Healing is possible when we use living energies with intention. Medicine is a substance that is made to help us stop something very quickly. To stop something very quickly doesn't mean that you're healing yourself. Stopping something is just stopping a symptom from bothering you. So, for example, if you're experiencing pain, what medicines do, which is helpful, is to make sure you don't feel the pain right now. However, you will notice that either you eventually the pain medicine no longer works for you, you get immune to it, you need double the dose, your anxiety doubles, and then you need double the dose. It keeps growing because the root of the problem has not dissolved. So that is when we go back to the body and we need to tap into something that is much deeper, that is much more empowering, so you resolve the root of what's going on. And this needs to happen when you use the oils with intention. I say this because the very truth is, we have people use essential oils, but they don't believe that it will help them. So there's a couple of possibilities. They don't believe it can help them. They don't believe they deserve help. So if there are traces of you inside that actually feels that way, it makes it harder for the energy of the essential oils to change things for you. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It takes a longer time. But when you bring in a mindset of, yes, this will work, this is energy from nature that will serve me and guide my body, you will find yourself moving through healing really quickly. And I want to close with this study that was done by this Japanese scientist, Matsuru Emoto. Many of you might have heard of him before. He got famous because of this water experiment. What he did, he had little bottles of water. He simply pasted the written word outside that bottle. So these crystals, you see these words? So it could be the word thank you, the word wisdom, or maybe down below the word you make me sick, okay? Or you fool. So by sticking words on the bottle, he freezes these water and then he takes the water out and then he studies the crystallization that has happened inside these containers of water. And the crystals are formed so differently. Words holding beautiful high energies created crystals that are, like you see, they are beautiful, delicate, well-shaped. But words that carries negativity and a lot of anger actually creates, or rather doesn't create any crystal. Nothing can be filmed and nothing can be seen. So that's the power of our thoughts. Even just labeling that bottle with a word, you are creating an intention ready for whatever you're actually putting inside the bottle. So the other beautiful thing that I want to say is if you look at our Young Living essential oils, especially the blends, when Gary created these blends, he's already put a lot of intention by the words he's chosen. Okay, peace and calming. It's quite obvious what it brings to you. Sacred mountain, how it generates that sense of peace and stability. Gratitude, even that just simple word, gratitude. Valor. These words are already created because it puts the energy of that into your little bottle of oil. One last experiment that you might have heard of, that has been actually it's been done in so many different settings. IKEA in Europe, I can't remember which country, they took plants and they invited students to come to their IKEA center. The first plant, they invite students to say the most encouraging words to the plant, and the second pot of plant, which is exact same species of plant, they ask the students to say the nastiest things to that plant. And as you might have guessed, the first plant continues to grow beautifully. They are really side by side, grows beautifully. The second plant, on the other hand, starts to wither and die. Words have power. Words spoken or not spoken, just through thoughts, are our intentions. So when you're using a living essence from the plants, remember that your thoughts are so powerful. It will supercharge the oil and support you to create the healing and the peace that you need right now. Versus if you're putting on something and then you're just, like, I'm not sure if I believe in this, but, whatever my friend says, just put it on. It will take a lot more work for the essential oil, no matter how powerful those oils are, to work through your disbelief and negativity. Okay, so I really want to leave you with this because how you function with this is going to help you create the breakthrough that you want to experience in releasing emotions. So I'm going to close it. We're going to come and see each other in the camera, but grab a picture of this very last page. That QR code will allow you to chat WhatsApp directly to my business number, or you can email me or follow me on Instagram. I'm happy to answer your questions, but do kind of just allow a little bit of response time. We're in a little bit of different time zone. I'm not always on these social medias all the time, but I'm here to support you. If you have any questions, if you need to understand what's going on for you a little bit better, please reach out, okay? And know that you can heal your life. So before we end, I'm just going to first come back, stop share. Okay. I did ask Zijun and Xiaohui to help me with a couple of examples. If anyone in the audience have may not have the book. Not everyone has the book. But if you go, wow, there is really one emotion that I keep seeing and keep experiencing. Oh, let me just stop recording because I don't want this part recorded.